The stock market was absolutely wild last week as it tanked down in a major way on Thursday and Friday. And this week is set to be a lot crazier because we have some really big events going on and stocks are just at a very important point right now. So make sure to watch to the end of today's video. We have some very important things that you need to know for the stock market for this week. We're also going to be taking a look at your guys' questions from the previous video. So stick around to the end. But Tom, what's going on in the market this week?
Yeah, like you said, that big event with the FOMC meeting is going to be coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that interest rate decision will come out at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, and Powell will speak at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 30 minutes after that. And we can see the market was falling down a ton last week, Mike. On Friday, we had that big inflation data come out. We saw inflation was actually rising at a higher pace than expected, although that core inflation came in just slightly above the expectations. But still, though, you can see the market tanked off ahead of that event. And then even after the data came out, of course, the SPY went even lower and we ended up falling through $400, which I thought would be a pretty big level on the SPY. Now we're sitting all the way down around 390. But the big thing this week is going to be that interest rate hike, of course. The Fed is pretty much set to raise interest rates by another 50 basis points. But as they say here, that hot inflation data from May might pretty much cause Powell to have to increase the pace of these future rate hikes. So they might talk about in the future having a 75 basis point hike or something like that. But keep in mind, as of now, it's still sitting at 50 basis points for this meeting, but they could always change that. You know, that hot inflation data, of course, is going to cause some fear. And as we can see, the fear definitely crept into the markets. It looks also like that the Bank of England is going to deliver their fifth straight rate hike as well. So even England, Mike, has been raising rates along with some other countries.
Exactly. So Powell is speaking this week. Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time is when he speaks. 2 p.m. is when the rate hike is announced. Right now, there's a 96.4% chance of there being a 50 basis point rate hike. This is so important because it affects everything from the valuations of stocks to just like everything in the economy in the world, like everything from mortgage rates to everything. Interest rates are so important for the stock market, but just for the economy overall. So I'm sure you guys can imagine why Wednesday will be so important, especially right after that red hot inflation report on Friday that caused the markets to just get destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are contemplating that the Feds raise rates at a quicker pace than expected, like more than 50 basis points, that the market might kind of freak out and we might see another dip back to the downside. And I honestly wouldn't be too surprised here, Mike. We can see on the daily chart, SPY has been seriously tanking off ever since breaking below this blue trend line here back to the downside. And it also just had a ton of rejection there around that 417 resistance. But we're almost back down to those lows, Mike, of 380. We're only around $9 off right now. So if we could end up getting down to 380 and then even breaking below that, who knows how low the SPY could go, Mike? Like, we're going to have to go back on a max daily chart here to even find a good support level coming up. So like I said, 380 is the main low down there, but below that, I'm seeing somewhere like around 373. And then even below that, something like around 360, unfortunately. And I hope that we don't get there, Mike. So hopefully hopefully Powell actually has some nice comments. As we know, he's been a pretty good cheerleader for the market, and usually he at least makes the market rise for a day or two there. So maybe we will see some recovery.
Yep, hopefully. It's going to be a very important week. And guys, make sure to let us know what stocks you're watching or any questions you have in the comments down below. On the channel, we're bringing back, what we used to do in the past, where we answer a ton of your guys' comments from the previous video. So comment your questions down below, comment your favorite setups, and we'll take a look at them. But Tom, I also know that there's a lot of news related to gun control, gun stocks, and all that stuff going on right now. So what's the update?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, but it looks like they pretty much reached the framework here to go ahead and start a deal on a bipartisan gun package. And this is pretty big. It looks like they're going to try to combat gun violence, including like red flag laws and enhanced background checks on gun buyers. I know they're talking a lot here about wanting to raise the age of rifle purchases from 18 up to 21. I think some states might already have it as 21, but overall, like I know in my state, I could get a rifle at 18, although I have to be 21 to buy a handgun. So I do kind of understand that law a little bit more, although they will say that they're going to also implement red flag laws, which is going to pretty much say where the court can pretty much keep firearms away from people deemed to as a risk to themselves or others. So for example, you might be able to, like, if you think your neighbor's crazy or something, you could maybe call that in, and then they might get their guns taken away or something if the court deems them, I guess, crazy enough. So it's kind of crazy. They are passing some laws here that aren't good for guns. But as we know, Mike, whenever this type of legislation, I should say, comes out, it causes gun stocks to go crazy, and people generally flock to the gun stores and they start buying up guns like pretty much like crazy here. You can see Smith & Wesson, their stock has been dipping over the past few months, and recently with talks of gun control, their stock actually went up. Mike, I think most people would think of gun control and maybe expect these stocks to go down, but usually they get some pretty nice upticks from this.
Exactly. Like whenever there's any gun control legislation about to be passed and there's a possibility of certain, firearms or parts being banned, people just buy them up as quick as possible, just like you said, so they can get them before they actually get banned. So definitely keep an eye on SWBI and RGR, maybe POWW as well, but these all kind of move up with, fear related to gun control.
Yeah, they do. And, like Ruger sells a lot of different things regarding with firearms, accessories, and stuff like that. Of course, with Smith & Wesson, I would say Smith & Wesson is my favorite of both of these stocks, Mike. And honestly, like looking at Smith & Wesson, I haven't done a fundamental deep dive on them or anything, but looking at the stock here, it's around a pretty good support at $15. And if we're looking at a longer term level here, we're pretty far off that high of 39. So you're getting a decent discount at least. I will say the past year has been pretty brutal for them though, but I will say this should maybe bring them some nice upwards momentum. And, like I said, over the past couple of weeks, it looks like they've been upticking and holding their ground a lot better. Friday was brutal, Mike. We had a lot of stocks sell off, but with this one only down 1%, I'll take that compared to other stocks like AMD, for example, it was down 4%.
Exactly. Like what's nice about the gun stocks is like they just do whatever they want. Like if the market's down, sometimes they also fall. If the market's up, sometimes they also rise, but they just move by themselves, which is a really good thing, especially in this market when the stocks in general have been tanking off so much. So good stuff there. And let's get right into these comments from the previous video, Tom. So there was a bunch of comments related to Tesla, and you're already on it. So everyone was just like looking at Tesla's price action and momentum. Tom, it fell by 3% on Friday. It's right around that $700 support level. What are you thinking with Tesla heading into this week?
Yeah, so heading into this week, we can see that their stock has been consolidating a lot, Mike, right around $700 to $800. There's been a lot of movement in between that channel there over the past couple weeks. But what I will say is what I don't like with this price action here is that Tesla tried to come up towards the end of the week last week and actually made a little bit of like a lower high there and got rejected. So on a technical level here, now we're sitting right back around that $700 support. If we end up breaking below that low of Friday around like 683, I think we might see Tesla start to sell back off. And the big reason that I'm worried about Tesla isn't really even Tesla's fault. It's more of just the overall market. We kept seeing the SPY fall down. And once the SPY started really breaking below its range, we saw Tesla fall off. And it wasn't even just Tesla, of course. We had Apple falling off, Microsoft falling off, and just all the big stocks in the market were down a lot. And I'm not saying Microsoft even just fell off a little bit. They were down like 4.4%, Mike. That is huge for such a big stock. So if those tech stocks continue down, unfortunately, I feel like Tesla will also continue down with them. But that break of like 683 is going to be huge. Like I said, right around 700, which you even pointed out as being a huge support level there. And that's always a big level psychologically. And you can just see there's been a lot of bounces lately.
Yeah, so 683 is going to be very, very important. If it breaks below that, I would be a little bit worried. But honestly, the main thing will come down to that FOMC event. Like if Powell has some awesome things to say and he can calm investors down, not only will that be great for Tesla, but it'll be great for the overall market, and that can just send stocks flying back up. On the other hand, if the FOMC event leaves investors worried and there's a lot of fear that results from that event, Tesla and the overall market can just get absolutely destroyed and fall a ton more. So like, it's hard to say heading into the FOMC event. This is one of the biggest weeks of the year. Keep that in mind. But for Tesla specifically, watch 683 as a giant support level. And then honestly, there's a lot of resistance overhead, but I would say the main resistance level is 800.
Yeah, I would say that as well. You can even see that last week here on the daily chart, Tesla's had a ton of bounces at $800, and we got really close to it and got rejected. And ever since that rejection, Mike, we've had lower highs and just continuous moves back to the downside. And like we said, that big support at 683 is going to be crucial. If we end up breaking below that, who knows, Mike? We might end up going down and retesting that recent low down here around like 620. So there's definitely been some pretty crazy price action with Tesla. I know it's one of everybody's favorite stocks out there. And Mike, I know we've been talking about it a lot, especially you and Hunter too, about it being overvalued. And who knows? I don't know how low this can get. But whenever I look at like a max daily chart here of Tesla, there's a huge support level down here around just under 600 at like 550. So that's going to kind of be my target level here over the next few months.
Right, there we go. With the next question, we have Harold saying, could you guys cover some energy stocks like Plug and Run? So energy stocks have been so crazy this year because you have some energy stocks like Run and Plug that are down so much, but then you have other energy stocks like ExxonMobil, Oxy, and Chevron that are just blasting to the upside. So there's like a big difference like within the energy industry overall. Some stocks are really benefiting and some aren't really. For like solar plays, I prefer RUN and Enphase. Enphase is my favorite of the two. Also check out the TAN ETF. It's just like a bunch of solar stocks all in one. Solar has been doing decent because oil prices are so high, but it's not like it's been doing great. I also like uranium plays like CCJ for energy. But yeah, I mean, oil stocks are so high where it's not really worth the risk in my opinion at this point. It's just a personal preference, but all in all, I like Run and Enphase for solar plays. I don't really follow Plug too much.
Yeah, I don't really follow Plug too much either, but I will say I do like Run. My favorite though stock, Mike, is Enphase by far. And we can see that if we look at the daily charts of all these stocks here, Run has been kind of falling back off, and they've been staying around this low of like $25 here, to where if we go look at Enphase's chart, they're actually up back around resistance at like 220. They almost recovered back up, Mike, from that bad drop they had. So Enphase has actually been having a really good recovery. I will say they're sitting right around that resistance, but either way, it's had a really good recovery over the past few months and pretty much this whole year, ever since the beginning of the year. I know we initially fell off, but it's been holding up a lot better than stocks like Run and Plug have. I will say, Mike, I like that Run is sitting right around that $25 support. I think that's going to be a pretty big level here. And, if we start to see a bit of an uptick off of this, that'll make for a pretty good bullish setup, I think, on this daily chart. So I kind of like all of them for the long term, but I definitely feel what you mean with those oil stocks, Mike. It seems like, I guess you could say like clean energy versus like dirty energy. I guess like the oil stocks are definitely a little overextended to my eyes for sure.
Yep, exactly. All right, so then we have Deep saying, what are your thoughts on Target for the next 3 to 5 weeks? So Target fell a ton over the past couple of months. Their earnings report wasn't the greatest, and they also had news on how they expect their profit margins to shrink a little bit because of all of the inventory that they have right now, and they're going to be doing a lot of sales and stuff to fix that issue. Either way with Target, it's okay. I would not say it's a great setup by any means, but it's not terrible. Depending on the results of the FOMC event, if that's bad, I can definitely see Target, fading down to 140 over the next couple of weeks. If the FOMC event is good, I can definitely see Target popping back up to around like 160 to 165. It's not a bad setup. It's just like I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't love it either. I will say there is some pretty good technicals going on this daily chart. Like we're kind of bouncing on that 1,000 SMA, which is nice. You know, the 1,000 SMA on the daily usually holds up as a pretty good like lower level. You can see there's been a lot of bounces on it, at least down here. Also right around that 145 support. I'm definitely going to be worried about it this week, Mike. I have a bad feeling this setup just doesn't look too bullish here. It looks like it's going to try to retest that support. And like you said, if that FOMC meeting goes south, then we're going to probably see Target have a second leg to the downside here. I don't know how far it's going to end up going down, but yeah, those retail stocks have gotten hit so hard, Mike. Target got hit hard. Walmart's down. We have Costco even down a lot. So it's been rough for those poor retail stocks. Even Walmart looks like it might try to go down and break its low this week if that meeting goes bad.
Yep. All right, Tom, well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have GLD to the upside.
Yeah, good old GLD. Look at that big green candle on that daily chart there, but go ahead and make them break above 175 for tomorrow.
Right, with the next one, we have Spotify to the downside.
Yeah, Spotify here. Go ahead and make them break below 102, and they're right around that $100 support.
And then we have Meta also to the downside.
Meta, yeah, FB changed their ticker recently to Meta as of last week, but go ahead and make them break below 175.
All right, so we're watching Meta and Spotify for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And then we are watching GLD for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the levels Tom listed. Before we move on, I want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, Sam H. Thanks so much for all of your activity on the Stocked Up live streams. If you guys want to join Tom live every single morning at Market Open, check out the description down below for the Stocked Up Live YouTube channel. He goes live for about an hour and it's an awesome stream. So make sure to join up, and huge shout out to Sam H. But Tom, what's on the schedule for earnings for this week?
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. We're definitely starting to cool down here on the earnings season. You can see there's even, like on Wednesday, there's only 3 companies reporting, and I've never really even heard of these too much. So the big ones are going to be Monday after close, obviously. Oracle is going to be pretty big there. They're a huge company with business solutions and different stuff like that. So definitely be on the lookout for Oracle. And then the next big day is going to be Thursday. So Thursday before open, we have Kroger, or ticker KR. That's going to be a pretty big one there. I know they're a big grocery store chain. They might end up going south, kind of like Target and Walmart have. So be a little bit careful with them. Although we have seen the prices of produce go crazy. So maybe that'll help. You know, it's going to be a very interesting report with them. Then we have Adobe on after close on Thursday. Obviously, they're a really big tech company too. So 3 pretty big companies, Mike. But besides those 3, honestly, nothing else too big.
Alrighty, well, last but not least, make sure to check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to join the Stocked Up Discord chat. It's completely free. You could chat with Tom and myself all day long and network with a bunch of other great people and get access to free day trades. So join up. It's awesome. If you don't like it, you could leave, but I'm sure you'll like it. So definitely check it out. It's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. But overall, we're very excited for this week. This week will be such an important week for the economy and the stock market overall. Be prepared for volatility, especially on Wednesday. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's have a great week.